So, chaos isn't randomness. Chaos is the cacophony of events that make predicting the outcome of something impossible. Like trying to figure out the weather forecast for next week. The chaotic convergence of many different factors creates a situation where, without exact measurements and without an exact understanding of all the forces at play, you can't predict the outcome because you're probably off in how you measured stuff, and you're probably off about how things affect each other. And in that sense, there's so many variables that the way something happens can be described as chaotic, unpredictable. So then order, on the other flip side, would be things that you know for certain are happening. Things are, make sense. They go 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. You don't have a situation where 4 + 4 = 9. And if 4 + 4 = 9, it would be because of some kind of rule that we didn't know about. They'd be like, what's going on? Where did this number come from? But generally, that's the idea. Chaos and order are both deterministic systems. When you throw randomness into a scenario, kind of like I was thinking out before in my other video about Rise and Fall, randomness kills the level of self-organization that occurs in a scenario. Okay, so why do I bring these two ideas up? Chaos, order, and the idea of randomness killing self-organization ability within a system. It's because video games usually employ randomness. A lot of video games use random dice rolls, random number generators to give an immediate sense of decision outcome potential. So, when you have randomness in a video game, you have a game that's going to be easier to make engaging to the player, in the sense that the choice they get to make is kind of a gamble. They're gambling on the choices they make. Where in chess, in a video game where everything is deterministic, in any kind of game where everything is deterministic, the engagement you get out of every choice comes from how that choice influences your whole state, right? And just off the bat, a game that has random dice rolls gives you quicker access to changing the state of your character, of what you're playing, what you have, the state of play that you have on the field of whatever game world you're in. That state of play can be changed very quickly. So with random dice rolls, you can make a game that's very quick to explode in the number of games and differences that could occur in each game. That's the permutation of outcome goes way up the more, randomness you have. However, the permutation of randomness is a lot slower to go up when you just do things in a very deterministic manner. All right. So why do I... The reason I allude to all this is that I have found that making text-based games are the conjunction of a whole bunch of information together. It's just, put it this way, a text-based game benefits from randomness because it benefits from randomness in the same way that graphical video games benefit from open space to move around within. It feels like that permutation of outcome, that choice to be in one spot or another, the choice to make a gamble, and then the gamble being really good, really bad, or kind of bad, however it might play out. Those kind of, I get to choose what I'm doing, give the player such a, like, immersive feel. Like, oh, I actually am in this game. I can change I get to interact with this game world. Okay. However, if you have randomness in a video game, like I was saying, it changes the self-organization principles. When something happens in a video game, and if it were deterministic, then the thing that occurs would be the most optimal way those two ideas could interact with each other, those two objects in the game world. If that's the case, then every interaction between objects is pushing the world towards a self-balance, which means intelligence, which means efficiency. It means that the way the actors act becomes more efficient over time. And you only get that, or you get that the fastest if you get rid of the random chance element to the whole thing. Okay. Now, if you get rid of random chance, just in the same way that you could gain a lot of playability just by running around in a 2D space, avoiding missiles, like just a platformer game. A graphical game gives you the ability to have reaction time. Where are you, and was it fast enough to avoid the thing? And if that's the case, your brain can mess with that, and your brain can be like, oh, I'm getting better and better, and it can really get engaged over almost nothing. Nothing is going on. It's literally like the simplest idea, and yet you're engaged. Same with randomness. Like poker. Playing poker can feel more engaging than rock, paper, scissors. Because, the simplicity is... There's randomness in rock, paper, scissors. There's just more randomness in poker, in the sense of what cards you draw. There's no deterministic skill-based. Well, there are skill-based things in poker, but it's not like, it really depends on what cards you get. Where chess is like the moves you make. And I guess that's the difference. Randomness introduces the idea of engagement with very little thinking involved, because you're just going to think about what the random chance did to you when you did that chance. Oh, it worked out for me, or it didn't work out for me. Okay. So, if you have a game that has many objects and many rules, but none of them are random, then what you would have is a simulator of ideas self-organizing into their most optimal state. You would have... Well, that's what you would have. And I guess the more rules there are, the more ways the objects could interact, the faster the self-organization happens. And I brought up the idea of chaos just to imply that even if everything is deterministic, even if there's no surprising move in chess, you can still be surprised in chess. You can still see a variety of outcome. So what does that lead to? it leads to the idea of creating a game, but also knowing that it's going to be slow to feel like a video game. I guess that's been my major problem with text-based programming, is that there is a lack of immersive feel. You don't get as immersed as you would if you could see the graphical elements, if you can move around. Yeah. When it's all ideas, on and off switches, it's hard to, well, no. The hurdle is just how many rules do you need before it even feels like a game. I guess that's where we're at. So how do I get around that? How do we move forward? How do I create a game when it won't feel like a game at first? It'll feel kind of like writing a book. You declare some kind of world. Because now I'm thinking about deterministic games. Think about it. The people who created chess, the people who created Go, the people who created... Like, they created this... Yeah, it's a game. It's like, I mean, chess is a good example because you put all the pieces on the board. It always starts the same way. The rules are all, I mean, the rules are the same, you know, it's a game. But it's like, how do you even think that far ahead to make a game that advanced with all that strategy? Like, you know, the pawns move one, you know, the castle moves in a straight line, the knight moves in that diagonal, or that, you know, that L-shaped method. And when you add all those rules together, it's like, okay, I understand chess. It's a really cool game. But what do you do when you're just dreaming up the first part of chess? Like, how was it brainstormed? How do you... Like, all modern... Like, all games, you know, you need to think about it. All written pieces of work, all artwork, you have to think about what you're doing. And the video game, or a game that you play... is like, it's what's going to be fun. What toys do we have, and what do the toys represent? Like, what do we pretend is happening when things are happening on the digital screen or on the board? Like, we play with toys and we pretend they do things, and we create a story around it. And if we dial in the way that we play this game, we can represent a whole slew of ideas, and we can get immersed and pretend that we're in a whole bunch of different scenarios. But how does that start? How did people even make chess? Like, I'm sure it must have been refined. They might have changed the rules every few hundred years. Like, chess has been around so long, I'm pretty sure no one really knows how it was made. It's just it's like a game that was passed down generation by generation, and they probably changed the rules here and there, and it probably started simple. Like, you know, chess probably started like checkers or something. Like, I'm not even sure how you get to have so many complex rules in a deterministic game, and like think out the long-term like effect of making that rule a playable thing. But it just feels like self-balancing. It feels like generation after generation of people must have self-balanced these games. They must have engaged with it and then changed the meaning of it. Yeah, but they started with something. And I'm struggling so hard to figure out how you create the deterministic game. Because that's what a text simulator will be like. These computer simulators, when they don't have reaction time, when they don't have anything but turn-based, and it's not even just turn-based, it's literally input the command, pick, you know, make your choice, A through B. I feel like graphical games somehow push beyond choosing A or B. They trick you into feeling like you have so many more options. But you don't have that in text-based games. You literally do have the self-deterministic, kind of like you're trying to make checkers or you're trying to make chess, and you gotta figure it out. You gotta figure out how all these things are gonna fit together. So, to that end, how do you figure it out? Well, on the screen is Obsidian. It's just this note-taking app that allows you to make hyperlinks, make tags, basically, an organization method to keep your ideas in one spot. It reminds me of like Wikipedia, like having the ability to make hyperlinks to other articles. Pretty cool. So, I was thinking, you could probably use non-linear storytelling to kind of arrive at a game like chess. Because if you think of a good idea for how chess could be played, it's probably after you've played chess a long time. If the rules are about to change, like, it's because, you know what, it'd be cooler if we did it this way or that way. So, same thing. If you have something simple and you keep working on it, then kind of unlike... so, we have a major advantage. Like, we can create video games, we can store hundreds and hundreds of instructions on a computer and have that computer just blaze through those instruction sets in milliseconds. So, unlike the past, where they had to really, really confine, purify, refine, over generations, make this game, condense it down into its best elements. We don't have to do that. We have the ability to just store so much information all at once. There doesn't have to be any, elegant, throughput. You don't have to, elegantly describe how warfare works using chess. In today's day and age, you can make a living book. You could basically put so many instruction sets on a computer, on a smartphone, and basically just make a book come to life. In the same way that we would make a video game come to life, in the same way that you would pretend stuff is happening in a game world, or on a game board, Monopoly, chess, checkers, whatever, all this stuff, we're already built to do it. We're already humanity playing around with its imagination all through time. So, we're at the point where you could create something really insane. Just out of this world. You see a video game, you see chess, you see a normal video game, and you think, yeah, it's really cool that we can simulate and keep track of all that data and have you pretend that you're in that world. But what if you took it to the next level? What if you, you weren't thinking about, okay, so today, what's going to be made? What are people going to make? If you're going to hope for something, you're just going to be hoping for, what already exists. Modern corporations employing people to create a video game, and that video game has a scope, and that scope is only so big, and they gotta make the deadline, and then they gotta release the game, and it has to be realistic. Or, it all has to be done in a realistic time frame. But what have we reached in terms of, what are we capable of? We're so much more capable of than, what's incentivized. What makes money, what drives the economy, what makes the gaming economy work. Like, that's unoptimized. Like, that's not the of course that's not the only way it can happen. And of course, like, they're not incentivized to reach the highest potentials of what could be done. They're just kind of like copying each other. AAA games, indie developers just like grabbing game engines and using those game engines to tell a story. But what if you made the ultimate simulator? What if you just kept all the ideas, all the rules in one game, in one spot? Everything you can think of. And you built ideas, and you filled them with details. So, on this note-taking app, the hope is that maybe that's what could happen. We could just go through it. One idea after another idea. One thought process after another thought process. And just kind of create an entire world. That's really, I guess, the intro to hopefully the next series of videos, which are going to be on me creating a computer text game. One action at a time. So stay tuned.